Greetings, fellow scribes! Welcome back to the archive. This video is part of my series on the individual tribes of Werewolf the Apocalypse. I will be going into each tribe covering the same basic details, their history and mythology, their biases, strengths, weaknesses, and a bit of information about their camps, their sub-organizations within the tribes. Now, this is going to be a bit of a boilerplate for all of these, so I don't have to redo a video every single one. So sit back, relax, and enjoy as we talk about this tribe. When talking about the tribes of the Guru Nation, usually you think about the cultural origins or the thematic origins of them, because these usually provide a solid, this is where they're from, this is how they think. So if you meet a Silver Fang in Moscow, which is their home country, their homeland, he's not really going to be much different from a Silver Fang you meet in Tokyo. And she's not going to be much different from a Silver Fang you meet in New York City. If you meet a Glass Walker, well, they're city wolves. Cities are still pretty darn much the same, no matter where you go. So a Glass Walker you meet in Hong Kong is not really going to be that much different from a Glass Walker you meet in Berlin, and that one's not going to be much different from one you meet in Las Vegas. But when you talk about the Stargazers, you are dealing with a tribe that does not have a single monoculture over it. The closest you'll get is their two core beliefs, which come out of Buddhism slightly. The first is that life is suffering. The second is following the middle way is how you relieve suffering. The middle way is a philosophy of moderation, of balance, that everything you do must be balanced. And this leads them as a tribe towards a tendency towards inaction until they need to act. I'm not really going to go into their legendary and their history, because that doesn't really help you understand them. Of all the tribes, the Stargazers rely the least on stories of the past. They are very much about the philosophies, the way they act. These philosophies take their roots from their points of origin, the origins of their culture, which is where they get trickier to define, because there are some from Japan, there are some from China, some from Mongolia, some from India, some from the area that used to be Persia. And those origins, that broad, sweeping perspective, affects them. You see, they don't believe in the Weaver Wild Worm like the rest of the tribes. They use another set of terms for them. Passion is the Wild. Reality is the Weaver. Darkness is the worm. The worm was actually, specifically, the worm is a single serpent named Kung Kung that tried to take out the august personage of Jade reality and his wife. And he failed because Wolf tricked him and took his head. Yeah. But the Stargazers believe that reality is a greater threat than darkness. They believe that the world is becoming more and more static, and that this is pushing darkness into a case of it must fight just to keep doing what it's supposed to be doing. Yes, the worm is evil. The worm must be fought. But something must also be done about the Weaver, because without doing anything about the Weaver, you're not fixing the problem. You're not fixing the imbalance with the worm. So both of these need to be addressed. That's the core philosophy of the majority of the Stargazers. There are groups that disagree with this, that actually believe that the Weaver is the bigger threat. Whether this is true or not really depends on how you look at things. But the Stargazers continue to be a very unusual tribe. They very much, a lot of their philosophy originates as a synthesis of Asian philosophies worked into the nature of the Guru. And in some ways, these have shifted due to their interactions in the West. Now, a major event happened in June 2nd, 1998. Their greatest cairn, located in Tibet, was attacked and taken by forces of the Worm, or the Weaver, depending on who you ask. But the big thing is, this great cairn fell. And as a result of this, the Stargazers, as a tribe, left the Concordat and went to the beast courts of Asia. The Concordat, the Guru Nation, is ruled by one set of rules. The beast courts are ruled by a very different set of rules, based around Chinese bureaucracy and the different changing breeds all working together. And because of this, you've had a split, an even greater split in the tribe. Because not every Stargazer packed up and moved to Asia. First off, there's the simple fact not all of them are of Asian ancestry. And generally speaking, in the beast courts, there is racism and xenophobia. You don't look Asian? You're gonna be given the job of going first while everyone else stays behind. Or you'll be asked to stay behind and do something unimportant while everyone else goes off to deal with the major threat. No matter how skilled or capable you are. In theory, eventually the beast courts will come around. Eventually. Probably not. Because you're dealing with a belief system and structure that has been institutionalized for at least 1,000 years. Most likely much longer. But, you have that issue. You also have the issue that many of the ones who were in North America, Europe, all these areas where the Western Concordat worked and operated, they had formed relationships. They had taken on obligations with the cairns and the septs. They had families. They had packs. And it would be difficult for a guru to just drop all that and move across the world. And so, while it's not a large portion of the tribe, it is a significant portion of the tribe has chosen to stay part of the Western Concordat. So, you have the Eastern Stargazers and the Western Stargazers. This, of course, leads to that division. But then there are 3 philosophical divisions within the tribe on how to do things. You have the majority of the tribe as what are called transcendent. These are we sit on the mountain and do nothing until we actually need to act. They are so obsessed with balance that they have focused on a path of inaction so that they do not upset the balance any further. In fact, this faction dominated during the Wars of Rage. They knew, they understood that the Wars of Rage were wrong. And the majority of the tribe took no action to stop the wars. None at all. They let them go. They could have taken action. Maybe it would have changed nothing. Maybe it would have changed everything. Maybe the Asian breed of the werebears would still be around. Maybe the Apis, maybe the Gronder would have survived if they had taken action. Because they were respected for their wisdom. And they did nothing. of all the tribes, they, because of the Transcendents, because of how dominant the Transcendents were, they have acknowledged the greatest shame for their inaction during the Wars of Rage. Because they did nothing, even though they knew from the very beginning that the Wars of Rage, the Wars of Shame, were wrong. Of course, the other camp, the other philosophical divides. There's a total of 3. You have what are called the traditionalists. These are not traditionalists like Chinese traditions or Japanese traditions. These are traditionalists as in they function like Western Guru. They form packs, they take set positions, they fight the worm wherever possible. Wherever it dwells, they seek out the worm. They fight. They fight like they should. They go after evil, after things that are wrong in the world. And this is a different philosophy, even though they still attempt to act with moderation, to resort to violence as the last resort, and to use the mere minimum amount of violence necessary. It's a case of why throw a dozen punches to wear the opponent down when you can just crush his throat? That's how they react. That's really the philosophy guiding the traditionalists. They have to fight. They know they have to fight. But don't fight any more than you absolutely have to. Then you have the philosophy called the Trappists. No, this is not named after the Trappist monks. They call this because they see the Weaver as having trapped the world. That everything is a trap. Cities are a trap. Technology is a trap. Everything of the Weaver is a trap. It binds you closer to it. And they have declared war on the Weaver. Now they know they can't tear down everything of the Weaver. They can't destroy and raise cities, etc., etc. But they can target the computer factory. They can target the power plant. They can go after the subway terminals. Anything that is a strong influence of the Weaver, they can go after. And they will go after, trying to destroy it. Trying to weaken the Weaver's influence. And, from these divisions, you get the various camps within the tribe. And really, these camps are more just further refinements of the different philosophies, with one exception. There is a camp that its name translates as the non-returners. this camp has gone into the Umbra. And they're not coming back. They have given up on the world and have decided that the only course of action is to find some place to live in the deep Umbra. And that is what they have done. They will make forays into the nearby Umbra, mostly to find other Stargazers and try to recruit them. And then, once they recruit them, they take them out to the deep Umbra, and they are never seen or heard from again. But with this, we've really covered the Stargazers. They are a hard tribe. They're a hard tribe to nail down, to pin how they think, because they don't have a unifying culture like the other tribes. Ultimately, the only thing you can say about them is they try to maintain balance in the world and within themselves. And from there, it's anyone's say. Though, they do have one really distinctive thing. They have developed a martial art. It's called Kalindo. And the purpose of it is a martial art designed and utilizing their unique abilities as werewolves. There are maneuvers in it that utilize shape-shifting to larger and smaller forms to execute specific attacks. There are grips, there are throws that are based purely on shape-shifting. And they teach it only among themselves. In fact, generally speaking, it is taught only within one camp of the tribe. The camp is called the Zephyr. And that is really all there is to say about it. It's a martial art that focuses and is designed explicitly with the shape-changing nature of Guru in mind. So, with this, I thank you for viewing this video. If you liked it, please click like and or subscribe down below. My next video is going to be on the Silent Striders. So until then, have fun and keep gaming.